The night had a strange heaviness to it, like the world was holding its breath. The old bus station, usually alive with chatter and movement, felt unusually still. Only a handful of travelers lingered beneath the flickering fluorescent lights, each lost in their own tired thoughts. The smell of diesel, cold air, and stale coffee wrapped around the place like a worn-out blanket. Anya stood near the ticket counter, clutching the strap of her bag with both hands. She was returning home after a long week of work in a nearby town. Her bus was delayed, again. She tried to distract herself by scrolling through her phone, but an uncomfortable feeling tugged at her attention. A growing uneasiness, the kind that creeps in slowly, like a warning from the soul before the mind understands why. She glanced up. 2 men stood across the station, pretending not to look at her, but their eyes returned to her again and again. One whispered something to the other, and they both smirked. A chill ran down her spine. Anya tried to tell herself she was imagining things, but every instinct inside her whispered otherwise. Her heart began to drum against her ribs. She shifted her position, stepping closer to the vending machine, trying to put distance between herself and the men. But they mirrored her movement. One of them adjusted his jacket, revealing something metallic tucked inside. She didn't know if it was a tool, a weapon, or just her fear distorting reality. She swallowed hard. Stay calm. Don't show fear, she told herself. But fear was already tightening around her like a cold hand. Then, out of nowhere, a shadow moved into her peripheral vision. Heavy boots, a leather jacket decorated with patches she recognized instantly, a Hell's Angel emblem across the chest. Her breath caught. He was huge, towering, with a beard that looked like it had never lost a fight, and eyes hardened by years of roads no one else dared to travel. Anya froze. Great, she thought, another threat, but the man did not look at her with menace. His expression was stern, focused, almost protective. He walked directly toward her, closing the space between them in confident strides. The 2 men across the station stiffened the moment they saw him. He stopped just inches away from her. His voice was low, gravelly, urgent, nothing like she expected. "You're in danger," he whispered without looking at her. Then he tilted his head gently, like a father scolding a child in public. "Pretend I'm your dad." Anya's breath stopped completely. For a moment, the world shrank to a single second suspended in time. She sensed it instinctively. This wasn't a threat. This was a warning, a lifeline. His hand hovered near her shoulder, not touching, just waiting for permission. She nodded, barely noticeable. Relief flickered in his eyes, just for a heartbeat. And with that, the stranger stepped into the role of a father she never asked for, but desperately needed. The act had begun, and Anya had no idea how much it would change everything that followed. Anya barely had time to process his warning before the biker slipped seamlessly into character. It was as if he had rehearsed this moment his entire life. His massive frame shifted, softening just enough to appear fatherly, yet remaining solid, like a shield. He placed a gentle but firm hand on her shoulder. Not forceful, not threatening, just protective. His voice rose in volume, carrying across the empty station with a surprising warmth. "There you are, sweetheart," he said, sounding almost annoyed in a convincingly parental way. "I've been looking everywhere for you." The words hit her like a strange jolt, both terrifying and comforting at once. Across the room, the 2 men halted mid-step. Their eyes darted from Anya to the biker's hand on her shoulder, then to the unmistakable Hell's Angel patch stretched across his back. Their smirks faded instantly, replaced by caution. The shift in their demeanor was subtle, but Anya felt it like a gust of heat on a cold night. The biker continued, leaning slightly closer as though scolding her, though his voice dropped to a whisper only she could hear. "Just go along with it." Anya nodded again, trying to steady her breathing. To sell the act, he slipped his arm loosely around her back, guiding her a few steps away from where she had been standing. His steps were slow, deliberate, showing confidence, ownership of the space, and familiarity with the girl beside him. All the things a father might project without even trying. She whispered, barely moving her lips, why are you helping me?" His jaw tightened. For a moment, he didn't answer. Instead, he kept his eyes trained on the men across the station, watching their movements like a seasoned soldier reading enemy intentions. Finally, his reply came, quiet, heavy, breaking through the air like a confession he hadn't spoken in years. Because someone once helped my daughter. Anya's breath caught. He didn't look at her as he spoke. His gaze stayed on the danger, but his voice trembled, just once. I couldn't save her. Those 4 words carried an ocean of grief. She felt it deep in her chest, like a punch made of sorrow. She wanted to ask more, but something inside her stopped her. Some pains weren't meant to be touched, only respected. He cleared his throat, regaining that hardened exterior, but Anya had already seen the crack in the armor. Stay close to me, he murmured. I'm not letting anything happen to you. They continued walking, his presence creating an invisible barrier around her. She could feel the tension in his muscles. He was ready for anything. Ready to fight if needed. Ready to protect her at any cost. When she dared to look back, she saw the 2 men hover near the vending machine, exchanging frustrated whispers. Their predatory confidence had vanished. The biker's unexpected intervention had disrupted whatever plan they had. With each step, Anya's fear slowly transformed into something else, trust. The biker wasn't her father. He wasn't even a friend. He was a stranger wrapped in leather, scars, and a cloud of mystery. And yet, in that moment, he was the safest thing in the world. She walked beside him, unaware that the danger was far from over, and that this unlikely guardian would soon risk far more than words to keep her alive. The cold night air hit them as the station doors whispered open. Outside, the parking lot stretched into darkness, lit only by scattered pools of yellow light from old street lamps. A distant hum of engines and late-night traffic echoed like a warning. The biker kept his arm around Anya, guiding her with the calm confidence of a man who had faced danger far too many times and survived out of sheer will. But the moment they stepped outside, he sensed it. Something in the air shifted. Danger wasn't behind them anymore, it was following. Anya felt it too. She glanced over her shoulder, and her heart plummeted. The 2 men had exited the station as well. They weren't pretending anymore. Their eyes were sharp, calculating, locked on her with predatory intent. Every step they took was purposeful. The biker didn't turn around. He didn't need to. His instincts were sharper than any blade. Stay on my right side, he murmured. His voice had lost the softness it had carried inside the station. Now it was steel, steady and commanding, yet somehow still gentle where it touched her. Anya moved closer, her arm brushing against his jacket. She could feel the warmth of his body, the tension in his muscles. He wasn't just alert, he was ready. The men's footsteps grew louder behind them, echoing across the concrete like approaching thunder. Anxiety surged in Anya's chest. Are they coming after us? She whispered. Don't look back, he said softly. But yes. A tremor ran through her entire body. The biker subtly shifted his position, stepping half a pace ahead of her. His broad shoulders created a wall between her and the threat. He walked slower now, deliberately keeping himself in the line of danger. Every second stretched like a drawn-out breath. Why are they following us? She asked, her voice shaking. Because they're cowards, he replied, his tone never wavering. They go after the vulnerable. They think you're alone. He finally glanced at her, just for a moment, his gaze filled with a fierce determination that made her throat tighten. But you're not alone anymore. Something inside her cracked at those words, not from fear, but from the unexpected comfort in them. She had spent so much of her life handling things alone that she had forgotten what it felt like to be protected. They reached a dark corner of the lot where the light flickered unpredictably. The biker stopped, his senses trained on the shadows behind them. If I tell you to run, he whispered, you run straight toward the lit road. Don't look back. Anya shook her head. I don't want to leave you. A faint, sad smile touched his lips. I've been left before. I can handle it. He took a deep breath, bracing himself. The goal is to end this without a fight, he murmured. But if they force me. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Anya understood. In that moment, she realized something profound. The man beside her wasn't just a biker, a stranger, or a warning giver. He was a wounded warrior carrying a father's broken heart. And he had chosen to face danger for her, someone he had known for barely minutes. The men's shadows approached from behind. The confrontation was inevitable, and the night was about to change everything. The sound of approaching footsteps grew heavier, echoing across the empty parking lot like a countdown. Anya's pulse thundered in her ears, each beat screaming for her to run, but her legs refused to move. The biker stepped slightly ahead of her, widening his stance, becoming a wall of muscle and resolve. The two men finally emerged into the dim pool of light. Their faces revealed everything Anya feared, confidence twisted with intent, the look of people who believed they wouldn't be stopped. "Evenin'," one of the men sneered. "Didn't know you had company." His tone was mocking, but his eyes were fixed on Anya with unsettling hunger. The biker didn't answer. Instead, he took a slow step forward, placing himself firmly between them and the girl behind him. His shadow stretched outward, dark and powerful, swallowing the space in front of them. The patches on his jacket glinted under the flickering street lamp, warnings written in leather and steel. His voice, when it finally came, was low and dangerous. "You touch my daughter." He paused, letting the words hang in the cold air like the edge of a blade. "And you answer to me." The men exchanged a glance. A nervous one. It was subtle, but Anya noticed. For the first time, fear flickered in their eyes. The taller man scoffed, trying to recover his bravado. "You expect us to believe that." But his voice cracked, just slightly. The biker didn't blink, didn't breathe, didn't move. He simply stared, an unwavering, icy stare that carried years of rage, loss, and violence he had sworn he would never repeat, unless he had to. "Try me," he growled. Silence fell. The wind shifted, brushing past them like a whisper of fate. The smaller of the two men took a step back. His bravado evaporated under the biker's cold glare. "That patch," the taller one muttered, eyes darting nervously, "could be fake." The biker's lips curled into a smile. Slow, merciless, the kind that sent chills through the bones of men who lived on the wrong side of danger. "Come closer," he said. "I'll show you exactly how real it is." Something snapped inside the two men, whatever courage they had drained out all at once. The smaller one tugged at his partner's sleeve. "Forget it, man. Let's go." "Not worth it." For a tense moment, Anya feared the biker would lunge forward, that violence would erupt, but he didn't move. He didn't need to. His presence alone was enough. With curses whispered under their breath, the men slowly backed away, swallowed by darkness as quickly as they had appeared. When the final echo of their footsteps faded, the biker let out a long, slow exhale, his shoulders dropping as if he had been holding up the entire world. Anya collapsed to her knees, her legs shaking uncontrollably. She covered her face with trembling hands as tears poured out, of fear, of relief, of everything she hadn't allowed herself to feel until now. The biker knelt beside her, placing a steady hand on her back. His voice was soft again, fatherly, warm. "You're safe now." She looked up, eyes blurred with tears. Why did you risk all of that for me?" He held her gaze, his voice breaking just slightly. "Because every life I can save." He swallowed. "Feels like one piece of my daughter coming back." And in that moment, on the cold concrete, under a broken light, two wounded souls understood each other in a way words could never explain. The night seemed quieter now, as if the air itself had softened after the storm of fear that had just passed. The parking lot felt less like a battlefield and more like a sanctuary where something sacred had unfolded. Anya wiped her tears with the back of her trembling hand while the biker waited patiently beside her, giving her space, but never stepping away. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. They didn't need to. The silence between them felt strangely comforting, like the aftermath of a nightmare when you suddenly realize you're safe. Finally, Anya pushed herself to her feet. Her legs were weak, but she managed to stand, thanks to the biker's steady hand. He looked at her with an expression she hadn't seen since childhood, genuine concern, quiet and real. "You're stronger than you think," he said softly. She shook her head. "I was terrified." "Strength isn't the absence of fear," he replied. "It's moving despite it." He offered her a small, tired smile. "You did that." Anya let out a shaky breath. She didn't feel strong, but his words wrapped around her like a blanket, soothing the fear still lingering inside her chest. "Do you want me to call someone for you?" he asked. There was no pressure in his voice, only kindness. She hesitated. Her family lived hours away, her phone battery was nearly dead, and she had no friends nearby. For the first time, she realized how alone she truly was. The biker noticed the hesitation and nodded gently, understanding without judgment. "You don't owe me anything," he said. "But I want you to promise something." "What?" she asked. "That you'll take care of yourself. That you'll never walk through this world thinking you aren't worth protecting." His words hit her harder than the fear had. She swallowed around the tightness in her throat. "No one's ever said something like that to me," she whispered. He looked away for a moment, his jaw tightening as old grief resurfaced. "My daughter used to say that too," he murmured. "And I regret every day that I didn't say it sooner." Anya felt her heart ache for him, not out of pity, but out of a deep human empathy. She wanted to reach out, to offer comfort, but she sensed he was a man who carried his pain like a solemn badge of honor. Still, she stepped closer and said softly, "She would be proud of you." He blinked, taken off guard. For a brief second, she saw moisture gathering in his eyes before he blinked it away. "Thank you," he whispered. He walked her to the edge of the lot where a passing taxi slowed at his signal. The driver took one look at the biker and nodded silently, understanding that this girl was under serious protection. Before she stepped inside, Anya turned to him. "I wish I knew your name." He chuckled gently. "Names don't matter, sweetheart. But I'll never forget what you did." He gave her one final smile. Soft, worn, filled with a lifetime of stories. "Remember this," he said. "Angels don't always have wings. Sometimes they have scars, and leather jackets." And with that, he stepped back into the shadows from where he had come, disappearing into the night like a guardian who had finished his mission. As the taxi pulled away, Anya pressed her hand to her heart. She knew something inside her had changed forever. She had witnessed the truth of humanity. Kindness can appear in the most unexpected form, and one act of courage, just one, can save a life and heal a shattered soul at the same time. And the world suddenly felt a little brighter.